Welcome to House of Tay. Today we have two special guests, Professor Drew and Nikki.
สวัสดีค่ะ
Swadika.
Hi.
So introduce yourself.
Yeah, so I'm Dr. Drew B. Mallory. I'm a professor of organizational behavior and management at Sassoon School of Management. I am our inclusion ambassador there, which means I oversee our inclusion policy, which we can talk more about. I have kind of a diverse background. I'm a social worker. I'm a community-based participatory researcher. That means that I work with communities of all kinds to try to solve problems in ways that they actually want those problems to be solved, which is kind of unique in my industry. And we work to help to create meaningful pathways for employment for people who are neurodivergent.
Nikki.
Hi สวัสดีค่ะ I'm Nikki Pinya Pincha. I'm the founder of Trans Talents Consulting Group. So we are the Diversity, Equity, Inclusion or DEI agency or think tank in Thailand. We are based in Thailand, but our work expands beyond Thailand. We work with different multinational companies across Asia Pacific. And actually I work with different part of the world as well, like the US, the UK. So I also co-founded Trans Pride Thailand, the first history of Thailand organized by transgender and non-binary people.
So the terms today are DEI. D for diversity, E for equity, and I for inclusion. Can you help me define them?
All right, good. So diversity, I think the easiest way to understand diversity, as I tell my students, is just differences, right? We're looking for all kinds of differences, superficial differences, the way we look, deep level differences like our experiences. And for organizations, you need to know about diversity because it's data. You want to know who's doing well in your organization, who's not doing well, and you want to know why. Right, so that's the real meaning behind, I think, diversity from an organizational context.
Diversity for me is not just about the differences. I think it also covers the commonalities as well that we have. And I think it's not just about the diversity of how you look, who you are, but I think the way you think as well, like diversity of thought.
Sure.
I think because people are from different backgrounds, either from social, economic background, education, family, and the context or experiences that I have. So you bring something valuable, something unique to the table. And either in terms of in the family, in the school, in the workplace, for example, or even in the society where you have that commonalities and differences. So it brings a very good thing for you to do something which is, wow, I never thought like something like this before.
Quality, the idea there is everyone gets something equal. And that sounds really good on the surface, right? We all want an equal chance at life. But the reality is some of us need something different from someone else. And equity says we want to make sure that you get what you need specifically.
For you.
For you, right? Not necessarily what he or she might need, right?
So it's personal.
Yeah, personal, right? So an easy example would be in the case of disability. So if you are, if you have a disability where you are mobility challenged and you need to get into a building with a lot of stairs, you're going to need some special assistance in that case, right? We might need to get you a ramp or have someone to help you enter the building. That's equity, making sure that the person has what they need to get inside.
They get what they want.
They get what they need, not what they want, right?
Okay.
That's the key. And it's not get what they need so that they can perform at the same level.
It's for necessity.
Just to be able to get on the same playing
level.
Yeah, the same level where we can all have an equal chance at something, a fair shot,
I get
right?
it.
Yeah, I think equity is just something that really, what I stand for as well. Because I think, as Drew mentioned, so someone might not be able to get access to any resources, opportunity, right? How can we help support those who get a limited, access to that resources, the equal rights to do things, to live, to be able to get what they want to do, right? So I think in the end, it's just a tool for bringing people to get at
the same level.
The same level.
Yeah, you hear a lot of people who are anti-DEI, and they say we really don't like equity because it means that we are opening a door to people who are not qualified, and that is a fundamental misunderstanding. We're not saying bring people in who are not qualified and give them extra resources and try to make them equal to other people. That's completely a misunderstanding. What we're saying is if someone is qualified, but the only thing that's stopping them is, for example, the lack of a ramp, or the lack of an opportunity or a language shift, for example, then maybe we can make those small alterations to allow those people to come in. And then what they bring, and this goes back to diversity, then that extra rich value added that they have gets to be joined with everyone else and everyone else's diversity, right? And that's the whole point. So inclusion is kind of the end, but it's also a pathway, I would think, as well. So in the end, we want people to feel like they're part of something we often use, belonging, in this conversation as well, right? We want to both open the door and include people, welcome them in, do what's necessary to remove barriers so that people feel they can come and so that they actually can come. But it's also the destination, because in the end, when you've created an organization that has equity, like you said, when you've created an organization that celebrates diversity, then people are included, right? So I think it's, you can look at it from both sides of the spectrum.
Yeah, so when I work with a lot of corporations, so when we talk about inclusion, so what we define is not just about how to get people like included in everything that you want to do. I think the sense of belonging, as you mentioned, the sense of ownership of their decision making and the choice of what they want to make. I think that's very important as well. When it comes to that inclusion, so it's not just about hey, having you invite people to the party.
No.
That's the example that we normally
Yeah.
do. But I think they should get a space for themselves to make a decision.
At
to
the decision-making
help
table.
create
Yeah.
everything that,
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
that is good for
Yeah.
everybody.
Yeah.
So
The disability community says nothing about us without us. And I think that's something that all of us should really, take into account, right?
Yeah.
That everyone who's experiencing something deserves a voice and a say in that process, right? And not everyone
True.
has it.
Yeah. So, what work have you done so far, and what are you working on?
All the work. We have both done all the work, and we're
All
working
the
on all the
work.
things, right?
simplify
Okay.
it.
Okay.
Take us through.
Right.
Take us through your journey.
So Sasin is part of Chulalongkorn University, which is an illustrious university in Thailand, one of the best, and has historically not been seen as being the most progressive, right? But we stand on a platform that's incredibly elite. Of course, a lot of the country's leaders, business leaders, come through Chula. And then at Sasin, I think we are also really catering to a very small slice of Thailand who becomes a leader for a lot of Thailand, right? So a lot of our students go out and lead the biggest businesses in the country, incredibly empowered and powerful alumni group. And when I joined Sasin, I came from Belgium, where I was the expert advisor on inclusion policy, working on internationalizing the university, helping to resolve some hidden kind of underlying problems of racism, discrimination, things like this. And I questioned, based on the research that I'd done there, what's going on here in Thailand? Because you don't really hear a lot about this kind of stuff. You don't hear a lot about diversity, equity, inclusion, not even really discrimination, right? Thailand is this happy, wonderful place where everyone gets along, right? And everyone wants to come and
Hope so.
right? Right? So I thought, okay, I don't want to bring in some Western framework to Thailand that's going to say we need to do DEI. But I was curious, are people feeling comfortable? Are we bringing in all the people who are qualified? And are we really promoting the next generation of business leaders to lead businesses that will protect marginalized people, that will welcome in all the best available talent? And I think the answer was no, there was room, right? So we did a lot of investigations in the community. We talked to a lot of business people. We talked to a lot of students. I talked to a lot of community leaders. And I tried to figure out if we were going to explore something that might make our education system unique in Asia, and that might make our education system cutting edge in Asia, what would it need to do? And we came up with a couple of things. And that resulted eventually in what has now become the IDEALS policy at Sasin. And IDEALS is inclusion, diversity, equity, and access to learning at Sasin, right? And what it stands for is essentially these principles that we talked about, but really in a very Thai context. We want our students to be educated, to understand what it means to be inclusive leaders, right? To be able to lead businesses that make good decisions that benefit their shareholders, but that also benefit their communities and that benefit Thailand in the long run. We also want to make sure that they're getting exposed to topics, so-called special topics, right? That they might not normally hear about. And as we did our initial research, we discovered that there were two topics that were really, really relevant to Thai people, but not really being discussed at this level of education. One of those is neurodivergence, right? And that means people with autism, Down syndrome, other sorts of neurological differences. The government mandates that large organizations hire 1% of their workforce from people who have disability cards, but it doesn't happen. And people with neurodivergence are completely pushed out for all sorts of reasons. So we thought that's interesting, right? Because that is both a population of workers and it's a possible resource that businesses can also use, and our students need to know. They need to be engaged with this topic, and we need to be doing research. So that became one of the focuses. And the second focus was, unsurprisingly, LGBTQ plus people. And not just people in general, because there's a huge pink economy here. Obviously, there's a lot of reputation about Thailand being an inclusive place for LGBTQ plus people. Actually, we really want to know about the same types of people that we're already welcoming into our program, which is leaders. And that's where I got to know Nikki from our first collaboration, was working on transgender leaders in particular, which I'll let her tell you more about. But we wanted to just ask the research question: what's it like to be a trans leader in Thailand today? Because you don't see very many.
You don't see many.
You don't see very many, but you should, because there are trans leaders, of course. They're just not in highly visible public corporate settings, right? And we wanted to know what makes them interesting, what makes them unique. So we started a research project there, and that's led to a lot of other, other collaborations with the United Nations and others. But just one more thing to add about the Ideals program. So this has a nice name, of course, and it has some big, shiny projects that we've done. But internally, it means we are, I think, the only university in Thailand and one of the only in Southeast Asia to do academic accommodations for our students. If you have dyslexia, if you have ADHD, we'll work with you to make sure you have the right learning setup to do what you need to do. We have a wellness program, crisis, emergency mental health crisis program. We'll have accessibility features throughout the buildings. We're revamping our entire building for students and faculty with disabilities. And we're working with local agencies to make sure that that happens. And these are issues that are not being driven by trends. In fact, they're counter-trend, right? But they're really being driven by the fact that we, and I think many still believe, that inclusive business is the future of business, right? There's money to be made. There are people to be helped. Those two things can live in harmony, and we're really committed to making that happen.
Thank you so much today, Drew and Nikki. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.